Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Royce Talks Radio. Royce Gomez is co-author of Discover Your Destiny, Live Your Dreams, Love Your Life. Follow Royce on Twitter at Royce Gomez. Welcome to this episode of Thrive, a woman's journey to victory, where we celebrate champions in life and business. Although each guest story is unlike any other, I'm sure you'll take away lessons and encouragement for your endurance journey. And my guests tonight today are definitely going to talk about her journey. Hi, I'm your host, Royce Gomez, author of 7 Beautiful Weeks, The Love Affair That Wasn't Meant to Last, The Spontaneous Journey, and international bestseller, Discover Your Destiny, Live Your Dreams, Love Your Life. My guest today is Cece Otto. She is a classically trained singer, composer, educator, and writer, where she chooses to call herself a professional artistic journeywoman. She is the only person to earn a dual master's degree in vocal performance and composition from the University of Denver. And in 2013, she completed her cross-country musical journey called An American Songline. She has single-handedly booked and performed 30 concerts of vintage music on venues throughout the Lincoln Highway, arranging all tour logistics personally. Later, she wrote a book and released an album, Bass Travels. She is currently developing a new musical program called The Songs of World War I, which will debut in 2017. Cece has an amazing vocal talent, and hopefully we'll get her to showcase that for us today as we speak to her. She's just an amazing guest, and her journey across the Lincoln Highway has been one fabulous journey. Now we're going to invite Cece Otto to join us. Cece, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Royce. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you here, too. Now that I need to take a breath, that is so much talking to thank my wonderful sponsors, Jamie Dodd and the Reinvention Retreat. So welcome to the show, and I'm going to give you a chance to talk now. You and I have some similar part star stories. You moved from Denver to Chicago to pursue a new career and get a change of scenery. And I did the reverse many years ago, going from Chicago to Colorado. So tell me about that journey.
That's so fun. I love hearing that. That's awesome. I think it's interesting how life kind of gives us signs and symbols to go in different directions. And I went out to Denver originally to pursue a master's degree in music, and I ended up, getting 2 degrees. I actually have one in vocal performance and one in composition, and I was doing the audition scene. I was trained as an opera singer, and I was out there doing the circuit, and I was doing regional auditions, and half the time I was going to Chicago for those regional auditions. If they didn't go to Denver, I was driving there. And it ended up being that my mom got a job transfer to Chicago, and so, kind of put 2 and 2 together, and it's like I'm already out there half the time anyway. I think I've got to leave paradise because, believe you me, I love Denver, and it's so beautiful, and the people are fantastic, and it was a hard leap, but I made the leap and decided to go to Chicago and really pursue my dream more intensely.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I can really relate. You had mentioned that you were in one of your creative groups after you got to Chicago, and the one thing that came to you, what you loved to do most, was sing, travel, and write. And when I was asked that question, I said writing, speaking, and consulting. And I combined that with my love of travel last year. I cannot sing, though, and I may have you sing while we're on the show. But how did those 3 things come together for us? Tell us about that journey of bringing singing, traveling, and writing together.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was one of those things where I think we all have the tendency to kind of get too far into our own heads, thinking about things that we should and shouldn't do. And I had that moment where here I had all this education, I was doing these auditions, and I called it kind of the audition hamster wheel of sorts, right? It was like I'd apply, I'd audition, I'd get the rejection letter in one way or another, and we would make jokes, me and other singer friends about, was it form letter A or form letter B or form letter C? And, I kept it in a binder as kind of a way to remind myself to stay on that path and do different things. But,
gosh.
I had the rejection postcard even too. That one was like, wow, okay, you sent me a postcard with a little label on it. And I was like, I just laughed at it, because I thought clearly wasn't a fit. And, with that kind of, I did dozens of auditions in a short amount of time, and you really learn to grow a thick skin because you realize most of the time it's not about me at all. It really is about what they're looking for. And, will you even fit in the costume? Are you too tall, too short? It's things that you can't even help at all. And you're never going to know. So why bother, getting caught up in, the no's? It's more about learning from the experience, which you took away, and then using that for things next time,
Yeah, now so, you mentioned two things that, the auditions, hamster wheel, and rejection. And in your world of performing arts, you hear those words probably quite a lot. But I think we, as any professional in any field, have to suffer rejection and overcoming it and getting back up and trying again. And we also feel like we're on this hamster wheel in our careers sometimes, and we hit that wall. So talk to us about being a professional woman and overcoming those things and keeping your vision out in front of you, Cece.
Yeah, it can be, trying, but I think, and you're absolutely right. I think, while the performing arts, it's, synonymous with having to do those types of auditions and rejections. We all face rejection in no matter what career we have in our life. And I think it becomes a point where you kind of have to know and be ready for all the different options ahead, but you still have to be authentic in who you are and in everything that you do. Because as long as you come from a place of authenticity with performing or giving that interview or whatever steps you take in your career, I think you always will succeed in no matter what you do. And it shines through. There were plenty of auditions I did where they get to only see you for 5 to 10 minutes. Typically with the opera world, it's that you walk in, you sing one aria that you choose of, first, and then they have a list to pick from, and then they pick the second one. Usually it's contrasting. And I think it becomes this thing where, you know the outcome and you expect you always expect the best, but that sometimes things aren't going to work out the way that you do. So you always plan accordingly, knowing that, in the long run, again, it doesn't matter what people think. You are being the best you that can be. And, even though I knew with some of those auditions and connections that I made that I wasn't necessarily going to be part of their opera company, I left a lasting impression that made them remember me in one way or another. And at least I brightened their day, regardless of what happened. And I think that's something that, you are giving to the world in one way or another. So I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it definitely makes sense. And I think that we can all relate, whether it's a job interview or being in front of a client for the first time, we have to make that lasting, memorable impression, and hopefully they'll come back to us when we are a better fit for the job or the client's project or the audition, correct? So I think we can definitely take something from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I I have to also tell you we have great similarities in the fact that we talk about a journey a lot in our lives. And I wrote a book last year called The Spontaneous Journey because my kids are now grown. And I was sitting in my place one day thinking, what am I doing here? I work with clients all over the country, and I don't have to be anywhere in particular because we do it all through the power of the Internet and technology today. So I got up in just a couple of weeks after having that thought and went on the spontaneous journey and traveled for 31 weeks last year. And I know that you took a journey along the Lincoln Highway. Yeah, so tell me about your exciting journey, though.
Right. So, after coming to this crossroads with that hamster wheel we've been talking about, I knew I still wanted to get my voice out there, and I knew that I needed to be heard. And so I really had that kind of simple thought of like, what is it that you really love to do? Get out of your academic head for a second and really boil it down. And that's where I love to sing, I love to travel, I love to write words, and I love to write music. And the singing travelogue idea popped in my head. And I thought, that's an amazing idea. What does it mean? And I had to really think on it for a while, but I came to the conclusion, and I saw all this great history in America's roads, because of course some of those older roads, not the interstates but the national highways, they followed these trails of sorts that we literally just paved right over. So I thought it was such an amazing concept that I could be standing on that pavement and know that Oregon Trail pioneers went through, or this was a trail in the Revolutionary War. And the Lincoln Highway, which was actually Abraham Lincoln's first memorial in the United States before the Washington, D.C. Memorial in 1922. This road was created in 1913 to honor our 16th president, and it went from coast to coast, starting in New York City in Times Square, and it ends in Lincoln Park in San Francisco. And I just thought it was amazing. I saw that it had a 100th birthday coming up, and I saw there were all these neat songs that people didn't really know about. They all know about Route 66, but they didn't know about this other road and this other history that was such a big deal. And so I thought, what neat way to tell the story of our country and this road than through creating a song program and performing kind of vintage songs and vintage attire. And I did 30 shows over 6 months. So I got to do the conversion in my head. 31 weeks is that almost is 6 months, isn't it, Royce? I can't remember, but we've almost been on the road the exact length of time. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so you mentioned roads have significance in our culture as well as other cultures. So before I have you sing some of those historical songs and share through songs, my mom is a history buff. So tell us about some of the unusual facts of roads and what you learned in our culture, or, I was reading on your website that you spoke about Australia as well.
Oh, yes. So, I have traveled all over the world, and I was actually living in Ireland at one point, and this friend of mine gave me a book called The Songline by Bruce Chatwin. He was a British travel writer, and he actually went to Australia to figure out what happens when Aboriginal Australians go on walkabout. And what they do is they follow these ancestral trails and literally sing their ancestors back into existence, hence the idea of a song line, right? And I just thought that was such a captivating idea that I thought there has to be a way to do this in America, so that's kind of why there is that vintage flair, because for me, this journey and these American Songline journeys were all about singing my ancestors back into existence, hearing those songs they would have heard along the route 100 years ago, whether it's about love or automobiles or sadness. All of those songs are such an integral, woven part of that culture, because that was kind of the main form of entertainment 100 years ago. If you were lucky to have a silent movie theater that, there was music that would accompany that, of course, but if you didn't have a vaudeville theater or a movie theater nearby, the typical kind of entertainment was everyone in the neighborhood would gather around so-and-so's piano in the neighborhood, and all they'd do is just sing songs. They'd sing along. And it was a great way to build community and kind of share fun with others. And it's something that I think is a beautiful art, and it's something that I certainly enjoy doing in these performances, because I get people to sing along everywhere I go. They may not remember the words, but I make the joke that even if you don't remember the words, just sing your grocery list and the person next to you is never going to know the difference.
I remember doing a lot of singing around the piano when my grandma was alive, and it was a great way to connect and entertain. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but as a professional singer and performer, can I ask you to sing a piece of a song?
Sure. I was going to say, I'm trying to think of, would you like to hear a Lincoln Highway song, or maybe just a fun song from the period that everyone would know? Or
let's do a Lincoln Highway piece.
Okay, so this song is from the musical Babes in Arms, which starred Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland in the 30s, and it is it mentions the Lincoln Highway, and it's kind of a fun period piece of the 30s that, you know, you hear some words and turns of phrases and people from that song, and it's just kind of a neat song. But again, I won't go on for too long, but I'll sing an excerpt of it. So again, the piece is actually called God's Country. That's kind of the neat song about it. So anyway, that's the title of the piece, is God's Country. So here we go. I'll get my microphone so it's a little further away so I don't blast your ears. All right. Hi there, neighbor, going my way, east or west on the Lincoln Highway. Hi there, Yankee, give out with a great big thank you. You're in God's country, where grass is greener and timber taller, mountains bigger and trouble smaller. Hi there, chappie, look over the seas, be happy. You're in God's country. 100 million rooters can't be wrong, so give a hand, give a hand, give a cheer for the land, where smiles are broader, freedom greater, every man is his own dictator. Hi there, Yankee, give us with a great big thank you. You're in God's country.
Well, thank you, Cece. I can tell you it's never a dull moment on Thrive, A Woman's Journey to Victory, because we've had, now I've heard opera singing from a historical perspective, and we've had a country musician, and sometimes we have corporate trainers that have been at the UN, and just always different, but so inspiring. And thank you very much for sharing your gift with us.
Thank you. I'm glad you like the song.
Yes. Now, you're going to be singing songs probably similar to that as you perform next month in Minnesota at the Heritage Festival. So are you still on the road a lot, and how can people connect with you if they want to invite you to be part of the festival?
Right. So, yes, I do tour. I kind of do it regionally because now, of course, and the way I moved, I actually no longer am in Chicago. I'm actually in Portland, Oregon now. And so I tend to kind of do, you know, sections of the country at a time just because it's geographically easier. And people can find me through www.americansongline.net. Or if you're on Facebook, if you type in American Songline, you'll find me there. And we have a really fun group of people who are active in the Facebook group. I like to share lots of old retro photos as well as stuff from my travels, and you can hear about the different events that I have going on as well. I actually just wrapped up a Western States tour. I was in California, Nevada, and Utah, and I'll probably be back there again. On another side note, I'll be singing about the Lincoln Highway because that's always going to be my first love, but I'm actually developing a new program of the music of World War I because, of course, the United States was involved in the war between 1917 and 1918. So I will be touring with that program in the years to come.
I was just going to ask you about that, Cece. Can you share what your plans are when you debut the Songs of World War I in 2017? don't want to give away any secrets, but share a little bit about that, please.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. So I will be performing these songs, and it'll be a mix of course, songs that people will know and recognize from that period, like It's a Long Way to Tipperary and Over There, sing-alongs, of course, welcome and expected, but we'll be doing some other neat songs that kind of are from the period that have a sentimental value, that have a funny value, like, how you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris is one of the famous songs from that era that are just, it's kind of got that comedic life of what happened after everything changed from that war. And I will be performing that in a military-style uniform. There were actually women, civilians, who served in the war and wore kind of a khaki-style attire. And I will be performing in something like that so people have an idea of what the costume looked like. I think that people tend to think of the nurse's costume or the uniform that they wear, but there actually were other, dresses that women wore that served. And so I will be wearing something like that so people can see something different.
Wow, that's incredible. So you are really kind of a walking history lesson.
Yes. I feel that, history is alive and all around us. And, getting history from books is important and necessary, but I think you can find history in the music, in communities, in monuments and things. It can be found in unexpected places. And I love bringing that part of history to life, so people can hear that and see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my mom would definitely appreciate that because we traveled to Civil War places and just really took it to another level with, like you said, the period dress and the music and just a comprehensive, all-inclusive, immersive look at history. And that's so much more powerful than bits and pieces. Well, I want to ask you for a moment, Cece. You call yourself the professional artistic journey woman. How did you come up with that name? And that seems so befitting.
I, knew I was a singer and a composer, and then I am a writer, and of course, I taught for some time, but, with these programs, as you said, and I love the way that you phrased that, where you said it was kind of immersive and all-inclusive history. It is not just kind of me getting up there singing songs. I introduce each piece before I get up there and I talk about it so people have that historical reference so they can take that trip back in time and kind of understand it a little bit more. So in turn, my programs are entertaining, but they're also really educational. So I had all these different words of like I'm a singer and I'm an educator and I'm a writer and composer. And what does this, this is a lot going on. And, plus I've got the travel component. So I, kind of looked up the definition for journeyman. And of course a journeyman has, it's kind of this, jack of all trades, is that you kind of know a little bit about everything and you share that with the world. And I thought, well, I like the word journey for what I'm doing. So I am a journey woman, and I saw that people just really don't, women don't use that term. And so I thought, I'm a journey woman, but this is at a different level. So, I'm a professional artistic journey woman so that they kind of know, like, what's a journey woman? Well, there's obviously some artistic component with this and that she's, taking it to this next level at a higher caliber. So that's kind of how I came up with the term and frankly also fit on my business card really well versus all the different slashes and other things that I would put after my name.
Yeah, you know what? Those practical things do mean something when we are starting our business, so that makes a difference. But it does seem so befitting to you, the artistic journey woman. I can tell that art just permeates from your pores, and you love what you do, and you've taken us on a historical journey today. So, Cece, if you'll tell our listeners one more time where they can find you on all the social media platforms and your website, then they can connect with you personally.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Royce. So my website, again, is www.americansongline, SONGLINE.net. And I'm also on Facebook at American Songline. If you're a Twitter person, you can find me at the @handle AM_Songline, and I'm also on Instagram and YouTube under American Songline. And of course, if you want to hear me sing, you'll hear me sing on YouTube, but you can find the CD on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, and the book about my 6-month journey is also available on Amazon as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being my guest today. You can find me on Twitter at Royce Gomez, or on Facebook at Royce Gomez, or at roycetalks.com. Thanks for joining us.